Hi, John.
Hey, Alex.
Do you know what I hate?
What do you hate?
I hate when movies are named after what should be a perfect Simpsons episode title.
Like what, for example?
Anomalisa.
Lisa. Wow, man, you're intense. Lisa. I adore you.
How is that as a perfect, season 4 Simpsons episode title?
Yes, that's true.
I hate when directors are named after the German word for purchasing, which I think is Kauf.
Sure. Why not?
I hate Professor Remus Lupin.
No.
Okay.
I'm not hearing any Lupin discourse here.
All right. How about Ares, the god of war?
That's fine too. Yes, Wonder Woman, perfect movie. Why wouldn't we talk about that?
How about
Douglas?
Douglas?
The only two movies David Thewlis has been in.
No. How about Douglas?
Douglas who?
Douglas. No last name.
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know, huh?
Douglas, no last name. No, I don't.
I'll give you a hint.
It's something annoying.
We did it on this very show.
Enola Holmes 2?
That's right, dumbass. The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Oh,
and his
right.
famous character, Douglas.
Douglas, I forgot about the. I was actually just talking about the Island of Dr. Moreau because a friend of mine has watched Ronin for the first time and was suggesting. He was like, "What's some other good John Frankenheimer movies?" I was like, "Oh, buddy,
Oh boy, do I have something for you." So Charlie Kaufman has done. He did Being John Malkovich.
He wrote it.
Oh, he didn't direct it.
No, that's a Spike Jonze joint.
Okay. Yeah, which I really liked. What else has he done?
He wrote Adaptation. He wrote Synecdoche, New York, which was his directorial debut.
Yeah, which I struggled with.
I've never seen it.
Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. Oh, he wrote Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I'm a big fan of that movie.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Ending Things. I've heard is quite good. Okay, so he has actually not done all that much.
Nope. He was on the Dana Carvey show. He wrote for the Dana Carvey show.
Oh, that's probably where I know him from. Oh, and of course, Ned and Stacy. Oh, shit. He wrote Forget a Life, which is actually one of my favorite shows that's ever happened.
That makes a lot of sense that he would be on that show.
All right, John. So Charlie Kaufman, we've established he's a weird writer. He writes some good movies. He wrote this movie. What do we think about Anomalisa, the episode where Lisa finds out that she's quite the outcast and has to find herself, and Homer gives her strangely good advice.
I don't know why I was surprised, but it wasn't what I was expecting, which is a dumb thing to say. Like, it's a Charlie Kaufman movie. Of course, it wasn't like it was going to be in the trailer, but somehow I was still not expecting it to be what it was.
What were you expecting? Just curiosity was.
I don't know. More of like your sort of a basic ass love story kind of thing.
Gotcha. Because all I knew is that it was stop motion going into it. I didn't know it was just one actor or 3 actors, but I knew it was
about a guy who only heard one voice and then he meets a woman that sounds different. And so I honestly think there's an argument to be made that you could pair this with her pretty nicely.
I mean, you're right. The more I think about it, just because her Joaquin Phoenix is much more likable. Like, this guy's an asshole.
See, but I don't really like Joaquin Phoenix in that movie. I think there's a certain amount of solipsistic weirdness in that movie too. But like, this guy sucks. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, this guy is not a cool dude. I'm not saying it's 1-to-1. I just think it's thematically a companion piece.
Yeah, I certainly get that. I don't disagree. It's just because I really disliked the lead character in this. And who I believe it's named Professor Remus Lupin.
His name is Professor Remus Lupin. This is indeed a spinoff. It's Michael Stone.
Because he's Padfoot.
Is that a Land Before Time reference?
No, that's so when he was hanging out with the original Marauders, that's James Potter, Harry's father, and a couple of their other friends. He was Padfoot.
Mm-hmm.
No, he wasn't. He was Mooney. Right?
Oh, good. I would hate for you to get that wrong.
Honestly, I should have done more Harry Potter research because I knew it could annoy you with it, and I actually don't remember. It's Wormtail, Mooney, Padfoot, and Prongs. Yeah, he's Mooney because he turns into a werewolf, and his last name's Lupin.
Yeah, good stuff.
Also, he robs French museums and he's anime.
What do you do for a living? Well, I rob French museums, and on the side, I'm anime.
Yeah. Anyway, also, I'm a werewolf teacher at an English school in Scotland.
When not being defeated by Wonder Woman.
Yes. Oh, that movie was stupid. Yeah, so this is one of those movies, and they don't come along all that often. I don't like it all, but I couldn't take my eyes off of. Like, I really enjoyed watching it while not enjoying the movie. It was like, I'm captivated by this, but I kind of hate it.
See, I was the other way, where I'm like, I found this extremely uncomfortable to watch, but I really enjoyed it.
I think that's the part I liked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is uncomfortable. And I'm still torn on the puppets, because this is stop motion, and they made the decision to not only have it be stop motion, but to have, when you're doing stop motion like this, and in a lot of cases, the heads are different sections. So like the top of the head's the same, but they'll remove the bottom for a different facial expression or something like that, just because it's, some places, I know I've seen like some stuff at Leica where there's like different heads and stuff, but this is the way these people were doing it, and they left the seams in, and I'm torn as to whether or not that works. I haven't decided yet, because I absolutely see why they did it. Charlie Kaufman had said in an interview with Rolling Stone that, like, it also showed a certain sort of vulnerability. It didn't look too polished and whatever. I don't think it needed that for that, but at the same time, thematically, like in the dream sequence later when his face falls off, it kind of makes sense as a whole. But I still found a lot of it kind of off-putting to look at. When people have like lines through their heads, it was, I don't know.
I liked it, with the exception of, and this is going to ruin one of the bits I had planned, but I'll just say it outright. There's a lot of South Park, because he kind of looks like a Canadian from South Park, where the split line is. The Canadians have like the kind of Pac-Man mouth.
Right, yeah.
But that's mostly in my mind because I kept thinking like, America, fuck yeah, so many times in this. Like Matt Damon, like there's so much Team America.
Oh, okay. I see what you're getting at now. Yes. Okay.
Which, obviously it's not South Park, but it's the same guys that made South Park, whatever their name is. Which also, this guy's last name is Stone, which is the last name of one of the creators of South Park.
That's true.
So it's really like
1-to-1.
Back and to the left, there was multiple shooters kind of thing. Like the conspiracy all comes together.
Yep. Great time to make that reference. I
was talking about JFK.
I know.
Which of course stands for Jesus fucking Christ, just kill him already. Because those letters work.
The other
JFK,
co-director.
Of course, I'm talking about killing JFK.
Yes,
it is satire, past time travel satire. Magneto bent the bullet. And
not actionable.
Hey, did you know that in the later X-Men movies, Magneto kills JFK?
Oh, really?
Yeah, not kidding. So he's trying to save him because it turns out JFK is a mutant, but he bends the bullet wrong. And that's why the magic bullet theory is what it is, because it's Magneto trying to save him.
Okay.
That's a real thing. Michael Fassbender talks about it.
That's always like I think we've talked about it before. Like that Marvel like inserts itself into the real world, and I've kind of gotten to the point where I like that DC does it because it feels so weird to have like Magneto involved in that, or like when 9/11 happened, Doctor Doom saw it and cried. What are we doing here? What is any of this?
I'm fine with the real world stuff. I think it's kind of good, but like not major, especially the 9/11 one where they did that. That was like shortly after. It's like, how about just wait a little while? Let's take a breather.
The Eternals, like we were alive during World War II, and what'd you do about it? Shh. A giant told us we couldn't do anything, but we're the good guys. Trust us.
Well, to be fair, in the DC universe, David Thewlis, the star of this, caused World War II.
That's true.
So that was pretty bullshit too.
Mm-hmm.
That may have been World War One, though. It
was World War One because at the end they're just like, "Well, war's defeated." And it's like, is it Wonder Woman? And they don't mention anything after that.
Yeah,
until 1984.
So I like the faces not like having the seams showing. Because it works because one of the things that I struggle with this movie, and until they kind of maybe put a bit too much of a button on it, of like, how much is this being Charlie Kaufman just being, I'm looking square up my butt, like John Malkovich style, where it's just like, this is a wacky movie being wacky, or is this a movie about a man suffering from mental health issues? And later in the movie, at one point, he literally says out loud, "Oh, is this my mental health drugs doing this?" And I think the fractured face kind of let that really, really hack-ass line land a little softer. because it's like a fractured face. It's like it's somewhat obvious, but at least it's like, I don't know. It paid off later, so I was kind of all right with it.
I also took, I took the sort of the mental health issue also as sort of metaphorical versus a real actual thing. Although it is sort of based on the Fergoli delusion, which is that everyone around you is the same person. Because initially, as I said, like the trailer was a guy that can only hear one other voice besides his own, and I didn't realize until like the movie started progressing that all the other characters also look the same. That it wasn't just that, like their hairstyles, whatever, will be different, but the face is always exactly the same. That
actually took me longer than I care to admit to realize.
Yeah.
Mostly because it's stop motion, they're kind of puppety or whatever. Like it was like, oh, yeah, there's a puppet face. And then after a while, I'm like, oh, and then like, oh, yeah, that's just like the same guy doing all the voices.
Yeah.
I might be like, I'm not saying the heat wave that's happening where we live made me stupid, but it certainly sped the process up.
Sure. Yeah.
And there are certain logical leaps that I am not making in the past few weeks.
Yeah. It's like putting, cooking something in there in a microwave. It goes faster, speeds up the process.
Micro what now?
Yep. But the
Lisa's the name of the child on The Simpsons. Just want to make sure you knew what I was talking about before.
This thing started as an audio play. Carter Burwell had this sort of experimental theater thing going. Carter Burwell, who did music for a bunch of the Coen Brothers movies, among other things, as well as this, which I really liked the score for this.
Drilled a mean hole.
Yes, but he did this sort of experimental thing, and they did it and decided to make it do a stop motion version of it, which I don't think it would, because when I first started watching it, I started thinking about like, well, why do this instead of actors? And I don't think it would have worked with actors. I don't think it would have been the level of sort of vulnerability that it gets to. I don't know would have worked as well if it was just like the gimmick. If it was more of a Robert Zemeckis kind of gimmicky thing where this tech gimmick of everyone's the same, just like the bit in John Malkovich where they're all John Malkoviches. I don't know that it would have hit the same. Because you would be kind of distracted by all that when it's the puppet.
I think it would read as comedic. And you'd have to choose who the face is, which is really super difficult to try to get like a nothing face, like the average of all faces. I don't think it would work.
Because this gentleman, as we discussed, is Michael Stone. He's a customer service guru. Like he wrote some book, Help Me, Help You.
He's the best.
Or Help Them. It's like Help Me, Help You, Help Them, something like that. Yeah, he's arriving in Cincinnati to give a speech at a convention, and it's makes sense that this was a play because there's like 3 locations. Well, let me see. There's the car, there's the airport, the car, the hotel, which is where most of it happens.
No, there's a bunch because there's.
There's spots within the hotel, but I mean, it's like it's not very dynamic in that way.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as like they had to build sets for the stop motion, but like. If they did this like actual building sets, because you had to build the office downstairs, the Malkovich room with all the people at the computers, like there's it very much has the feel of a play. I read that it was originally 40 minutes long, which I feel like probably was a better choice than what we got here. Not that I'm like complaining it was too long, an hour and a half, totally fine. I think I would have liked the 40-minute version better because it was. As much as I was kind of fascinated by the movie, there was a fair amount of it looking up its own butt that
Well, it's a thing that I think it lets, it makes you soak in the awkwardness a lot more. There's a lot of like more like long drawn out pauses of this stuff, which is probably why I find it so uncomfortable. That like if it was just sort of done a little bit as a bit, you get the point across, but it really lingers on some of it.
Yeah, like that taxi. So when he rides at the airport in Cincinnati, he has this incredibly awkward exchange with the taxi driver. And the taxi driver is talking about like, oh, you should go to the zoo or get the Cincinnati chili. It's got cayenne pepper in it. Or
no, it's bullshit. It's meat sauce on spaghetti. I hate it. It's bullshit. It's not chili.
You're from that like that area of the world.
Well, I'm from the Midwest. I mean, I'm from Nebraska. Like that's hardly like big chili country. I'm just saying Cincinnati chili is not chili. It's bullshit.
Kind of love it.
Okay, enjoy it.
My favorite part is the cinnamon.
Mm-hmm.
They put cinnamon.
That's fine. I'm just saying you put it on spaghetti, it stops being chili.
You know what my favorite thing about chili is? Like those people that get mad if you put beans in it, or people that get mad when you put like meat in it, or I don't remember what the fight is.
Though there's a distinct people, like people in, I believe it's Texas, are like, no beans. Got to be meat. Because that's originally how it was. No beans. But you got no beans, you just got wet meat. No thanks.
Yeah, that's just like it's like, hey, you know what we want to eat is a taco, but without the shell or any of the toppings. Ew, fuck you, fucking Texas.
This podcast is pro bean.
We are pro bean, both Mister and the legume.
But anyway, so is this guy is at the hotel and has these awkward conversations with people. Well, actually, you need to finish the story because your Skyline Chili thing was an aside on the taxi driver. Did you have more there? Or?
Oh yeah. So no, it just set up that like the kind of long awkwardness of it, and there's also that scene is important to show the kind of internality of that this movie is obviously where it's from his. It's not from his point of view and the way TikTok uses point of view. But at one point when he gets in it, he hears music, but he's internally singing over the music.
Well, it's not him. It's just the Tom Noonan voice is going over the music.
Or either way,
he hears all the voices as one voice.
Yeah. But the fact is, like, we're hearing from his perspective. It's just important to set up because it's Charlie Kaufman. And I think it's mostly Malkovich doing it for me. That Malkovich is said in. Malkovich is real. There's a magical device that lets you go into the head of John Malkovich.
Yeah.
So, like, that's the reality of it. This man has a fractured consciousness. You know, he has the Fragoli delusion.
I have the Fazoli's delusion that I can get affordable Italian food very quickly.
I have the Rizzoli'd Isles delusion, where I think I'm a detective, possibly lawyer.
Yeah. No, but I think that leads me to like his reaction to all that makes this so much more of a metaphorical thing than an actual like an actual specific mental illness, because he never seems like blown away by like or tries to explain to people like, I'm sorry, I have this condition where everyone sounds the same to me, please, let's deal with that. Whereas much as it's just sort of this internal, he thinks everyone's an automaton but him, or he's special and they're shitty.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still based in like a mental health thing, not a reality where he's the only. It's not a a solipsistic reality where it's only Ares, the god of war, aka Professor Remus Lupin, aka Douglas from.
Love that Douglas.
Yeah. Douglas. That's what I was looking up before we started. I'm like, because I remember he only had a first name. I'm like, I want to call him Douglas.
Good old Doug.
But it's just because there's also some weird his charisma level is interesting in this, where as far as we can tell in the reality of the movie, he's a very charismatic man.
Yeah.
Except everything we see about him is he's a wet dish rag.
Yeah.
And he doesn't seem very bright. Like, when he's in the car with the taxi, the guy's like, he's like, hey, is there a toy store? And he's like, oh, yeah. I know where there's a toy store, real class joint, that kind of toy store, right? And he's like, open all night? Yeah. And that fucking idiot actually thinks it's a toy store.
Yeah. I think, I mean, again, like some of that to me is also that he's just not listening. He doesn't care because it's all just noise to him and he's above it. But at the same time, I think because of that, I mean, he is stupid because he's not trying or connecting with people.
But, like, that's not how you be charismatic.
Yeah.
No. Hey, you know what the key to charisma is? Not paying attention to anybody and keep asking what.
Well, I like that the guy just can't understand his British accent, even though he's, like, not saying anything that weird, in that cab ride. Which there's a lot of, like, stuff that I think in this movie where it's, like, it gets kind of maudlin or sometimes, like, maybe up its own butt, but I think there's enough, like, humor to ground it. Like when they bring back, like towards the end of the big dream sequence, when they bring back the key card not working, and it's all just very, very awkward.
Wait, in the key card
that where like
remember the sequence you're talking about.
When he's trying to rescue Lisa towards the end.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was funny. Yeah.
And they bring back the key card bit. But like, there's lots of little jokes about that, about how like nothing's working right. The fact that his key card, it takes him a long time to get it to work. The bellboy, of course, can do it in one go. But he can't.
Yeah.
And then the phone bit where he's like tries to order room service and there's like 4 different buttons on the phone. One's a hamburger, one's like a guy holding a tray, one's a chicken leg. You're like, what one do I even press?
And it took me that long to pick up on it. That's the exact scene I realized that all the voices were the same.
Oh yeah.
Because the other time I'm like, hey, that's Dennis, or whoever just walked in the room. I'm like, oh yeah, no, all the voices are the same.
Yeah.
Huh? Shit. And then it took me even longer because I'm like, is that David Thewlis doing an American accent?
Yeah. Oh no. It's as you mentioned, it's Tom Noonan, who if anyone has seen Heat. He's the guy in Heat that gives them their jobs. He's the bad guy.
He wins the All Caddy Invitational in a movie you haven't seen. So I just realized that reference isn't going to work. Caddyshack is the lead caddy is Noonan.
Oh, really?
Or one of the main characters is Noonan. It doesn't matter.
He's Kane in RoboCop 2.
Wow.
He says Jesus had days like this. He's fantastic in House of the Devil. But like he frequently plays like creeps and weirdos. He's can be a very like intense figure. I think he was on Boardwalk Empire too. Briefly.
I think you're thinking of Tom York.
I'm thinking of Tom York.
Because he's
just a statuesque Tom York who's not 3'4". But anyway,
what the hell is he doing there?
I thought that that was a good choice for the voice because it's
really good. Especially him doing the female voice in heavy quotes, where it's just kind of like he's barely changing his voice. It's great.
Because it's soothing at the same time. Like it's very this kind of relaxing voice, but really sort of not non-committal. Like it's just that's a guy's voice. Which isn't to say that he doesn't do a good job with it. He has to play a bunch of different characters doing a bunch of different things because he is literally everyone else in the movie except for Jennifer Jason Leigh and David Thewlis.
I just question this, and I'm sure I know the answer because Hollywood is disgusting. Well, and this movie had like no budget, but if you do that in a movie, I bet you only get paid for one part, and that's gotta suck.
Oh, probably, yeah. Or like, like lines read or something like that. I think there's probably like a rate where it's like, well, if you say this many lines, that makes you a supporting character or something.
Yeah, it's 6 lines and under, I think, or 5 and under. There's a term for that. That's like your pay scale bumps. But I bet you it's like, well, no, see, technically you're second lead, so like we can make you do anything. And you get second lead money. You don't get 40 different character money.
But at the same time, there was, you think about, because they raised a whole bunch of money for it, but like got some other money, but you're saving, like animation is an expensive process, but you're saving money on other stuff. So how that all works out, I don't know.
I did want to bring that up. I kind of mentioned it when we brought up, I forget if it's actually on mic or not, but I used to listen to Harmontown, the Dan Harmon podcast. And when this movie was being produced, he was talking about it because it's his production company is like one of the main producers on it. And I remember talking about like he's doing a claymation or whatever, a puppet movie. And in my head, I'm like, this is a hilarious man on a very funny podcast. This is obviously going to be a hilarious movie. And I didn't think about this movie once in the intervening 15 years or whatever it's been. And boy, not the hilarious movie by funny man Dan Harmon that I was expecting.
No, it is Starburns produced, but not a laugh ride. There's funny elements in it. But it's definitely a lot more maudlin.
Yeah, it's not joyless, but it's not. When I heard Dan Harmon puppet movie,
right?
Not this is not the. Yeah, I mean, I guess. I mean, that guy's kind of a maudlin fella too. Now, don't get me start saying maudlin. I hate when I steal words from you.
Yep, I invented that word. Patent pending.
No, but that thing where your friend uses a word and the next thing you keep saying and you're like, what a fucking ass.
Like Douglas.
Yeah, like Douglas.
Like Douglas. You said Douglas and then I said Douglas.
Yeah. Like how he doesn't remember anything and he ruins that entire season.
I don't even. No,
like
no, we're not going down that.
3 joke.
Incorrect. But we're not going down that rabbit hole.
Well, anyway, it's another pretentious creator that people think there's more to it than there actually is. I think David Lynch and Charlie Kaufman should just stand in a room together and point at each other's dicks and go, "Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's great dick." I don't know. It's somehow turned into Rain Man, but
yep, that was great.
I used to do a 40% good David Lynch impression. I completely forgot how to do it.
Yeah, you gotta
transcendental meditation. There we go.
That was closer. Yeah,
40%. That's right. 40% good. I'm not a fucking.
That's the motto of this podcast. 40% good.
Yeah, I mean, fuck yeah, dude, that would be great.
You're gonna get some rat feces in there.
Yeah, finally, you're kicking in 2%. That's why they call me the 38% kid. I'm not even sure that math works. I don't know how math works. Let's talk about this movie.
38 plus 2 is 40.
No, but I mean, I think math-wise, it's actually you would do the division first, and then you would be the percentage of the remaining percent, not a percentage of the original percent.
But would that work though? Because we're talking about the show as a whole. If the show as a whole is
Bachelors of the Arts in writing,
60%
in poetry,
60% bad, 40% good, and that 40% is made out of your 38% and my 2%.
Yeah, I just want to make sure you don't get the 2% off the top. You get the 2% of the 40%.
Yeah, off the VIG. whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Puppet urination, I did find impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Not in a, hey, this is Alex, I'm saying inflammatory things. Like, that's, I mean, for stop motion, like, you stop motion to dude, like, a depressed man in a hotel bathroom taking a piss. Like, that's actually evocative. Like, it's good.
Yeah, and I will say you absolutely ruined my position in the office pool. I thought you were going to talk about the puppet penis, like, right out of the gate. That was going to be your go-to, but you've...
Yeah, no, because I am not someone that bears inaccuracy in my cocks. And this man is a Brit. And he's walking around there with a clipped dick like some kind of American. And I say, no, sir. I want some floppy anteater on the end of that thing, or I'm not talking about it.
A lot of things might have happened. You're making a lot of assumptions about the man.
There may have been one. I didn't really look.
No, there was. No, I had a big Sherlock Holmes magnifying glass right up against the TV. But I think, I didn't really think about it.
I injected a 7% morphine solution, then jacked off looking at his anteater cock. By Jove, Watson ejaculated.
Your move, Moriarty.
By the way, fun fact, if you read the Sherlock Holmes books, Watson ejaculates a lot. And at one point, he ejaculates out of a second-story window. Because it means to yell back then.
Right,
but, reading that when I was 15 or whatever, shit's hilarious. It's like
still
the funniest
funny
thing
now.
you read.
It's all right.
Yeah, you're totally... But imagine being 15 and you're like, holy shit, I get to read, like, in school, I can read this shit. The guy ejaculating against the second-story window.
Does the teacher know it's in here?
Yeah, on the jerk-off note, I also enjoyed, and not for the I like a crude joke thing, but him opening the hotel window and seeing that guy just cranking off through the window.
Yeah.
There's something, like, incredible, like, I just think it's evocative of just, like, the insane loneliness of being in a hotel by yourself. Like, that just kind of, like, I don't even fucking know what I'm doing. And then you open the window, there's some guy cranking his hog. You're just like, I don't know. What do we do? What am I supposed to do? I guess I'll eat food. That man's touching his dick. Should I touch my dick? Is that what it's supposed to do? It's a hotel.
High five through the glass somehow?
Yeah.
But he gets, this is your first indication that Michael may not be super cool. Is he calls his wife, he does the perfunctory, I made it to the hotel, call to his wife and his son, who also like Tom Noonan, and he doesn't seem to care much about talking to either of them. And then he's already been reading this.
His son does seem like kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah, I mean, he's a child. He's, what do you want from him?
His voice didn't sound like a child, John.
All right, let's see if that holds up in court.
I assure you it doesn't.
But he ends up, like, he's reading this letter as the plane is landing. He's arriving, but apparently an ex-lover of his, he wrote this letter telling him to fuck you in 1995 after he ran out on her. And he gets the idea to call her up.
This makes me so sad.
It's very upsetting.
Because I have an ex that we both feel the urge to contact each other, and it's never a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And not anytime I get sad, but there's a certain amount of sad booze and maybe some other substances that I have to be like, do not text.
Yep.
Do not fucking text. And like that, I kept a letter from 10 years ago. It's like, oh God, I fucking felt that. I'm like, I feel so bad. But it was like, because when he hung up the first, I'm like, yeah, dude, don't do it. Don't fucking do it. And he did it.
And I mean, the way he just whiffs this all like so badly, because he calls her up and she is very surprised to hear from him and and again, like Tom Noonan does an amazing job of like portraying all these emotions, even though he's supposed to like sound like everybody else, that she is, like surprised and kind of excited by it, but also like unsure of how to, because we learn there's a lot going on in her life. But then when he's like, oh yeah, things are great, I'm married, like you led with that?
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, that's great. And then they still manage to meet for a drink at the hotel, which that is a terrible idea. If someone calls you to do that, to like, hey, I'm an ex, I'm in town, don't go to the hotel. Go to a third location. Go to even if it's close, I don't care. It's not the hotel.
This is how bad he whiffed it, to use your terminology.
Stealing words from me
basically, I'm not saying she consented. This is not like some kind of weird, creepy guy thing. But she gave every single indication that a human can give that she is down for Pound Town. She's going to Poundland, as the British say.
Thank you for handling this so delicately. Yes.
Yes. She's going to take his anteater and put it in her anteater hole.
Uh-huh. That tracks. That's nature. That's how nature works.
That's what they call it in jolly old England.
Do they?
But she's like, yes, of course I'll meet you in the hotel bar. Like she basically said, 90% I'm gonna fuck you.
Well, she's like, and this is a bad idea, but yeah,
still didn't fucking like. I'm asexual, and I still would have hit that shit. Like that is you're impossibly bad at this, sir. You did not service that customer well.
Yeah, which is, I mean, we'll get into that, but the fact that so she shows up, they have a drink, and like, we had something special. It was kind of awkward, and then he starts to open up a little bit because he's like, "Did you change in the process of the relationship? Did something change?" She just got out of a bad relationship, so she's very vulnerable and shaky. And then when he's like, "Do you want to come back up to my room?" It's you can read it as the sort of predatory thing that it actually is, but there's a certain amount of like, I also just like, I don't feel comfortable talking about this in a public place like this. It seems like he might want to open up to her, but I think in the reality he was just cruising for a bruising.
That's gross, and I don't like mixing violence with sex, and I think you should apologize to the audience.
Sorry for copying Alex saying Pound Town. I'm maudlin about it.
No, but cruising for a bruising and going to Pound Town are two very different things.
Not my book.
Because I mean, let's say he's saying he's going to bruise her vulva from his excitable thrusts.
No, why? Maybe he's getting bruised. You didn't think of that?
That's a good point. I'm sexist as fuck, and I apologize to you and the audience.
Woo!
Yeah, got away with that one. So what I think is happening here, I'm not going to make everything about me, but I get that when he invites her to the room, he's not saying, let's go to my room to have sex. I think internally that's kind of happening, but I think it's this man doesn't understand how to be vulnerable and how his emotions work. And in that typical male way of boner equals I like you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when he invites her to the room I think he genuinely wants to cry it out and talk about it.
Yeah.
But also they're totally gonna beat up his butt or whatever you were referencing. Like whenever, however sex works.
That's how
like
you have sex. You put on her
hand. Is that how sex works?
You put on big, comically oversized boxing gloves, and then just work the left cheek like a speed bag.
Yeah. I think that's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you got it. Like back in the 90s, where like every song you said you had to like put something on it before we have sex. They were talking about big, comically oversized punching bags.
Yep, that's what Salt and Pepper were referring to. But I do think, I do think maybe this was sort of patient zero for his, we'll call it condition. That's when things started to change, is when he started to all kind of feel that this was all the same person, that everything's the same. Because there's a certain amount of this that it made me think of Philip K. Dick's Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, when he's talking about Kipple. Kipple being the sort of like just useless objects like junk mail or match folders after you use the last match or gum wrappers or yesterday's homeopape. No one can win against Kipple, except temporarily and maybe in one spot. Like in my apartment, I've sort of created a stasis between the pressure of Kipple and non-Kipple for the time being, but eventually I'll die or go away, and then Kipple will again take over. It's a universal principle operating throughout the universe. The entire universe is moving towards a final state of total absolute Kippleization. Of just this idea that, like, everything that was once good becomes this sort of mundanity. That, like, it's become used to it. Like, to put it in more like the relationship terms, there's a bit in Mad Men when, like, Don Draper's with a psychiatrist for a little bit, like, having a fling, but then he meets his, like, second wife, and the psychiatrist is like, well, be sure to tell her you only like the start of things. And I think that's very much this guy, too, is that he's just sort of now, like, he's bored with his life, but he's externalized this boredness. And it's like everyone else's fault rather than his own. And this, like, he's special, but no one else is.
Yeah. And he's got no internality to, like, back up that claim. Like, like he's a customer. He writes books he wrote a book about being a customer service rep. Like his music taste it's literally in the public domain. Like, right. I mean, this man isn't bringing much to the table.
Yeah, it's like a CD that would come with a luxury car in the 90s.
Yeah, definitely. We both know what that is because we're both like very wealthy men in our 20s.
In the 90s. But so like that of course blows up. She leaves, storms off. He continues to get drunk and goes to the quote unquote toy store, realizing that it's a sex shop, but is very taken by this ancient or super old Japanese automata that looks like a geisha, like a crack thing with gears inside and all that. Then it cuts to him in the shower, which I did like. Again, things not working. The bit about the shower being too hot and him navigating that, because hotel showers are never fun.
Question on that. Not the shower. But I saw a reference. So he fucked the geisha doll, and there was cum in it when he gives it to his kid.
That is my take on it.
Because they say there's something coming out of it, and he's like, I think that's semen.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't show him fucking that doll, right?
No.
Not that I want to watch him fuck it. It just seems like this movie, that's such a lonely, pathetic thing. It just seems like they would have done that. You know, like
I think that the withholding that reveal really works. Because you're still kind of pulling for him in this sense at the beginning, because during the shower he starts kind of having this. You're right. Yeah. Starts having this kind of like panic attack where he starts to kind of remove this section of his face that we were talking about, and then he hears a voice above the din of everyone else talking, and he says someone else, and immediately like tries to put on rushing, put on his pants, goes out. She's gone. That voice is gone. So he's trying to find her, knocking on different doors, and ends up knocking on the door of these two women that have actually come to his talk. They're customer service reps from the Midwest for a bakery company that sells like pre-wrapped baked goods, which I love all the names of those, like Choco Bricks and stuff like that. That was all very funny.
Now, is this, like, I know you're in a committed long-term relationship, and we're imagining another reality. Is that basically like your dream lady?
Well, look, I have
from the Midwest, light drinking.
I have a hall pass for thick, weird-looking puppets from pretentious movies. Okay. I got a hall pass for that. So Emily, if you're listening, hit me up.
Yeah. Hey, little Debbie, if you're out there.
Bring them snack cakes over here. Yeah. Emily and Lisa, the titular Lisa, who is voiced by Jennifer Jason Leigh, and she doesn't look like everyone else. She doesn't have the same face as everyone else, and her voice stands out, and he's very taken by that. And it's like, well, I'm actually looking for my friend, but hey, you guys seem cool. You want to grab a drink? And so it goes back down, which like an hour has probably passed. And he's back down at the hotel bar, and they're like, okay, well, it's this guy again.
That waitress, her like low-key annoyance with him is like, here's another martini for you. Like, she is making it very clear to those two women that this guy had been in the bar earlier with somebody else. And it's very good, very well written. Yeah,
and it's very subtle. I like that, you know. And then like they drink and have fun, and he's just enamored with her. Whereas meanwhile, Emily is throwing herself at him, like dropping, I wouldn't even call them hints, walkthroughs maybe. They get drunk, and ends up being like, hey, come back. Lisa, this was incredibly awkward. They're in the hallway, and he's like, hey, the two women, do one of you want to come back to my room?
Yeah. Okay. So, I don't need to tell the story. I'll just say this. You just do the three-way. That's obviously where this goes. It's fine if one gets more attention. I'm just saying that's a three-way situation. You don't in the hallway go, no, I only want you.
See,
you take one for the team. Don't insult that poor one.
Right. So you just go home by yourself and go, she was nice, and then go to bed. That's what you do.
No. No.
I want you even talking to people anyway. That's terrible.
So there's three people involved.
No, that's too many. That's too many.
My fist hit you, you hit the floor, and then you hit the little Debbie. I'm not sure what that meant, but I liked it.
It sounded nice. And I can hear it in your voice, so I love it. But in the exchange when they're back in his room.
Oh, wait, sorry, I'm interrupting you. Okay. We don't know who's editing this episode yet.
Uh-huh. Probably me.
Assuming it's not me.
Yeah.
Can you change both of our voices to be exactly the same?
Absolutely. I'll just redub all your lines.
Could you spend, I don't know, like 30 hours or so?
I would love
doing
to.
That. Like real quick.
Real quick.
Only like 30, 40 hours of your life to have a joke that no one will understand, and no one's going to listen to the episode because it'd be like, why did John pitch his voice up real? Like,
hello, I'm Alex.
So this is so, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have interrupted you for that. I just really like the idea of 30 hours of editing for absolutely no fucking benefit to pitch. It's so stupid.
It's great. It made me laugh. I'm for it. But they end up going back to his room, and I actually really liked this scene where they're together. It's very sweet. Because she's extremely self-conscious, because Emily's usually the one that gets all the boys. She's got this strange scar on her head. And he, of course, is being a huge creepazoid about it. But I still thought...
Oh, really? When he said, can I kiss your visual scar on your face on the night we meet?
Yeah, and then...
Okay.
So, I mean, because it seems this whole time, it just seems like these desperate people that are like, you know, oh, that this guy's kind of in this bad way, but he found this woman, and this, you know, it's almost like not a manic pixie dream girl thing, because she's not, but at the same time, like, to him it is, that he's in this world of gray. He sees this one special flower.
Yeah.
And then so they end up having sex, and like the pub and sex scene is, I don't want to say brutal's not the right word.
Hot,
despite,
I think is the word you're thinking
it's
of?
very just sort of matter of fact. Like the camera pulls out and the to the wide shot, and then they get nude and they have sex.
Yeah. Well, first he gets Papalingus.
That's yep. I honestly, I swear to God, that was when I was initially going to make the joke about you doing the noticing the penis. It was going to be a reference to you making a pun out of cunnilingus. But I was
really?
like, he probably won't do that. So wait, where'd it go?
You never had that thought.
I swear
There's
to God.
no way you had that thought.
I swear
You
to God.
known me for
and I know you,
and
I know you love puns.
No, I thought you just said I wouldn't make that pun.
Oh no, that I thought you'd notice the penis thing first. I guess rather.
Oh,
what
gotcha.
I should have said.
I'm like, John, there's no fucking way in any universe you would have the thought, oh no, Alex wouldn't think of that pun.
Yeah,
that's an impossible thought.
But he's woken up the next day, early morning the next day, by a phone call from the hotel manager.
This is the best scene in the movie. Please continue. I just would like to establish that.
I mean, I don't know how much I want. I want to go into this, but like the hotel manager is in the basement of the hotel for some reason, and he has to go down there, and he's in this huge empty room with a weird like conversation pit in the middle,
and a golf cart,
to
from the
get
opening
to
of the room to his desk.
Yeah. Which I like. We haven't talked about it so much, but like honestly, the cinematography in this is great. Like it's very subtle. There's a lot of like really long takes that you kind of don't really appreciate. Like what that means to like the stop motion, how long that takes to do that kind of thing.
I think this movie, I don't even suffers, but I don't know if you're a Seinfeld fan, but I can't watch that show. I can't watch Curb because that like long uncomfortable thing. I just not my thing. I think if you're someone that likes uncomfortable, boy, those scenes are going to resonate with you. Because like they didn't work for me because I'm uncomfortable. Like I'm too uncomfortable. I'm like, as I said before, like I'm fascinated by this, but I don't really like it. But like if you like uncomfortability, man, there's some really good sequences of just like 40 seconds uninterrupted of like awkward.
Yeah, well, and I think I think that serves this. Whereas like Seinfeld I think is too cartoonish for it to really bother me. But Curb I have a hard time with because it's just too awkward. But this like because there's a certain vulnerability to it. It's not necessarily just played for like look at how awful these people are. It reveals the vulnerability of all these characters, and I enjoy it. It's still hard to watch. But yeah, so he goes when he's talking to the hotel guy who of course looks and sounds like everyone else is like, I love you. Reveals that he loves him, and then it ends up being this like he's chased by the entire hotel staff, who of course all look and sound the same.
See, this is a very John Malkovich-y moment.
Yeah, and they're all like they all want to have sex with him, and he's like, they all love me. It's terrible, and they all love me. And then he in the dream gets to Lisa's room, like pulls her out of her room, and they run to his room, and he tells them like they all want to get you or kill you. And it ends up being and his face falls off at one point too, revealing that he's the puppet thing underneath. And that was a big selling thing to me because it is face off. But it's like that idea that it's not just this like disease he has; it's this metaphorical thing where everyone else is sort of the same, but he's special. But the reality is that no, you're just like everybody else. It doesn't matter, man.
But I mean, that is the disease.
Right, but I don't think. But my point is that he's never really thought about it or treated it as such. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't call attention to people. Like it is just this thing he very internalizes.
Yeah, I don't think that he knows he has Fergoli delusion.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's on depressive medication, etc. But like, obviously that is what he has. But I don't think he's aware of it. I think that's There's my favorite delusion is Cotard's delusion or the Cotard phenomenon.
Is that where you think you're dead, or no?
Yeah, or think everybody else is dead or something along those lines. But like, it's that same kind of thing where it's just like this complete disconnect. But like, if you ever like hear, or I've read interviews, I don't think I've ever actually seen anybody talk about it, but how straightforward it is. It's kind of the way he's talking. Like at one point in the dream, he's like, everybody is the same person except for you and me. Mm-hmm. It's got that same kind of like, no, you're all dead. No, what are you not getting? You're dead. You're a dead person, but you're animated. I'm alive. And this like, raw. I mean, I guess it's really any mental health disorder, but when you've got the full on delusion ones where it's kind of crazy, I shouldn't say crazy, when it's shocking to hear the matter of factness of the delusion,
mm-hmm.
Which is what I think that I reacted to with this guy.
Yeah. And then the next morning, when he wakes up, they order breakfast, and she scrapes her fork on her teeth. She talks with her mouth full. All this stuff that he's like, starts like, oh, you're an actual person? That's disgusting. And then her voice starts to become Tom Noonan's voice. As like the harsh sunlight is coming out. I thought that was a nice touch too. That just, in the harsh light of day, what you thought was special was just a person.
I felt so bad here. Like, it's just such like, it is the Manic Pixie Dream Girl from his perspective. And him just letting it disintegrate because he can't deal with the simple realities of, dealing with another person, which is, it's, I don't know. There's a lot of like lonely moments in this movie, but that one like really was like the most lonely to me. Just like, this is never going to get better for you. Like you can't deal with someone fucking chewing.
Yeah.
Like this is over for you, bro.
Yeah. And because he's already talking to her about like leaving his wife for her or whatever. But then she asks him like one question. She's like, you're being really controlling. And so this is really where, because it seems like he's kind of maybe sleazy, but he seems all right. And this is where I've just jettisoned from him entirely, where I'm like, I go to hell, this guy. And because you can see the sort of defeat in her face a bit. And then he ends up going and giving his speech. And this was really hard for me to watch because he's like losing his mind during it. Ends up, they part ways. He goes back home. And
wait. No, we can't breeze through the speech.
Oh,
sorry.
Can't we?
Yeah. So the reason John's uncomfortable is that in the original John and Alex Hate stuff, we had sections in the middle of the show where if you ever listen to Whiz Biz with Alex and Eric, my other show, that we do like a segment in between one episode and another of Adventure Time, and like usually it's like hey, look at this shiny rock I found as a segment, and I talk about like a fun word I found. So John and I used to do that, and it was like these little like 3-minute speeches that we wrote before the show. And I think it was like the Fifth Element. It was one of the it was Snipes Special Ops. So with Steven Seagal, John was going to give his little 3-minute speech and had a complete breakdown.
I did.
So
yeah.
he went Steven Seagal, blah blah blah, and then he went, you know what? I never really felt love for my parents. I've got a ton of body shame because of it. Alex, you're the only man I've ever loved. All of my personality is based on yours. If only I could have sex with you. Like it was this whole thing.
It means a lot to me that you remember
John and I
it word
figured
for
it out
word.
later. Yeah. I don't have it. I mean, I do have it saved, but I haven't listened to it in a while. But like, so John, I think it feels uncomfortable dealing with this because he sees a lot of himself
That's true.
in Ares, Professor Remus Lupin Douglas.
Absolutely. That's exactly how I put it.
I do want to say, so he gives a speech and he just completely starts breaking down. And like in the middle of the speech, he's like, the thing about being a customer service representative is that what you really need to remember is that I think I've lost my love and I need tears. Like, do you feel like there's tears growing in you, but like you can't cry? Have you ever done that? It's like, well, when you can't come, and I need tears to just tear me in two and let this nightmare escape. So anyway, when you're talking to customers, you have to remember it. It's like, oh my God, this is fucking incredible.
Yeah.
I love that. I really enjoyed that scene. It's one of the few scenes I enjoyed.
Yeah. It made me very uncomfortable.
I know, because of the whole special ops thing.
Right, as we've discussed. But
yeah,
he ends up like,
no, let's go over it again.
He ends up going back home, and his wife like has a surprise party for him. And it seems like in this moment that it's like, I know you've been having a hard time. Let me try to cheer you up. Like it seems like this it's not just like it's his birthday or something. It just seems like this, hey, we all love you and hope you're feeling better kind of thing. But of course, everyone just looks and sounds the same to him. And he gives his son the turns out he did buy the sex doll and gives it to his son. And as you mentioned, like there's semen that leaks out of it. Yeah, he's very ungrateful about it, and everyone kind of notices this. And he's just stuck in his sadness, and he's watching the geisha. Who is that her singing? Is that Jennifer Jason Leigh singing? Because it sounds like
yes.
Yeah.
It is.
And it's singing a song. I looked up what it was. It didn't really mean much to me. There's something about buying rice.
No, it's like legitimately just some old Japanese kind of folk song. I think it's about like it's a little boy that turns into a peach and goes to a magical island and a fox hangs out. Like it's like one of those kind of things. The lyrics did not seem to resonate with the film to me. Yeah,
but then we get a scene of Lisa in a car writing him a letter, much like the letter at the front, but about like how, hey, like this was weird, whatever, but I'm glad that this happened. And she's in the car with Emily. We see for like just a split second, we see Emily looking how Emily really looks. Because we're outside of Michael's delusion, which Emily still, if you're listening, hit me up. And
Little Debbie also hit him up.
Also, please hit me up. But that
Mr. Ho and Mr. Ho.
That this actually like was kind of a transformative experience for her in a positive way, almost. Like she seems like a little bit more like comfortable and self-assured in that moment. And the sunlight that's coming in this scene is like a lot warmer and nice. And I thought that was a great way to end it, in that it's not that he's suffering in this world of his own making, or like whatever problems that he has, but that she's, because if it was the thing where her life was ruined because of this too, I think that just sort of feeds into him being the central character of this universe. Whereas that shows that no, like there's life and beauty outside of this, and this guy just can't escape it.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think I should start going around having sex with people as a famous author and make their life better.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
You've really helped.
But also because of Charlie Kaufman, like there's a subtle thing of that too. It's like, look, I'm screwed up and this is going to work out, but I'll change your life for the better. You might try to fix me, and that could be transformative for you. So have sex with me.
Connie Lex. How do you fit Conolingus into Alex? I can't figure it out.
Conalexis? Yeah, I don't know.
I made you do it, you asshole.
That doesn't bother me that much.
You just fell into my Cotard solution.
You're the Cotard solution.
Yeah.
What are you, Robert Heinlein? No, that's not Heinlein. Who is that? Oh, it's Ludlow. Robert Ludlow.
Yes, this movie is somewhat depressing. It's awkward. It's slow. I enjoyed watching it. I never want to watch it again.
It's kind of honestly how I feel about Eternal Sunshine. I really liked Eternal Sunshine. Only saw it once. I'm good. I don't need to see it again. I saw it a
Eternal Sunshine,
very particular time in my life, and it was very fitting for that time. And now I'm good. I don't need.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. Well, Eternal Sunshine 1, same, but I'll still watch it just because like the whole Manic Pixie thing just still resonates with me. Not in like in a way that I want to defend or enjoy about myself. I just recognize it. But I did want to say about this movie, which I've brought up before, but if I saw this in my aggressively annoying 19 through 24-year-old self stage.
Okay, I was waiting for another caveat for that.
Oh my God, this movie would be like, I would be telling everybody how great it is and how it's like, this is the deepest thing in the world. Like,
oh yeah.
God.
Oh yeah.
Ugh. So if you're a young piece of shit, you should watch this movie.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm talking to you, Brian. There's probably somebody named Brian who's listening. It's possible.
But yeah, no, absolutely. Like I would be very insufferable about this, or,
yeah,
or that like I understood it in a way that no one else did. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Yes. These are truths.
Which would be very fitting for this movie.
Yeah. You are a Cotard. What have you watched recently? Now, we haven't spoken in weeks.
In weeks.
What have you watched that you can recommend to the audience, or recommend against per Alex rules?
I actually watched for the first time. I watched Dazed and Confused. I had never seen that movie. I was very much against it in high school. I was just annoyed by I think the marketing of it just made it seem very annoying to me.
Wait, can I stop you for one sec? Is that the one with Ben Affleck and they spank each other's butts and girls stay the same age? That's that one. There's like 3 movies I get confused with. Yeah. Please continue.
And while it wasn't the movie I thought it was at that age, it was the movie that I figured it was going to be, which is a Richard Linklater cool hangout movie. And it was nice. It is in no way representative of my high school experience in the slightest, but I still really enjoyed it. The cast was great. So check that out. That was cool. And then on the 4th of July, I watched the best movie about America in the 21st century, Killing Them Softly, which I think I probably recommended on this show before. It's a very grim movie, but I felt like that's how I want to celebrate America this year. And then as an overall representation or overall recommendation, Night Flight, the Night Flight streaming service. It's super cheap, and there's a lot of great stuff on there, a lot of great cult and horror stuff, but also old music videos, and they have a 24-hour streaming thing. Sometimes they play music videos. They have one channel that plays music videos, one channel that plays horror and cult stuff, but they have a bunch of other stuff on there, old cartoons, weird cartoons and stuff like that. Highly recommend it, and it's, like I said, it's super cheap. 2 thumbs up for Night Flight.
Fuck yeah. I've been watching a bunch of stuff since last we spoke. I know I recommended Severance already, but just a reminder that Severance is great. Because of Severance, I've got Apple Plus, and I watched Silo.
Oh yeah,
which is really it's okay. I was gonna say it's really good. It's 80% really good, and the other 20% isn't bad. But it's there's just large swaths of they gave us a 8-episode run, and we had to fill those episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not that dramatic, but so worth watching, but like it's not like a rave. Like the parts that are good are like incredible. The only real downside is Rebecca Ferguson is one of the leads.
Yep.
And Rebecca Ferguson is weird for this reason. Her accent slips and you hear some of the Irish coming out, which is weird because she's not Irish.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah.
No, I don't get it. But if you watch Silo, listen for when her accent fails. It sounds like she's slipping into like an Irish lilt. And she's not, and I'm like, I don't fucking understand because I think she's like Swedish or something. It's genuinely confusing, but super good show. Recommend wholeheartedly. Very quickly, I finally got around to watching Lower Decks, the Star Trek cartoon show. Really good. Yeah, like really solid. It's actually like, it's funny, but it's also pretty good Star Trek. Like the situations they put in are like very Star Trek-y. Like it seems like funny people that grew up watching Star Trek, which is, you know, cool. Like it was, super good. Recommend that.
Oh, speaking of the Star Trek note, real quick, I want to shout out John Bolts from Green Shirt and Marcy, who we had on the show from Idle Ride, for saying some very nice things about the show on the Idle Ride podcast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I cannot express enough how much I love John. That guy is fucking great. I mean, every word he says is so good. Anyway, back to what I was saying.
No, it's a very nice shout out, and you should listen to Iron because particularly they're moving on to Fallout, which is a much better show than Avatar.
On the Apple note, real quick, I'm watching For All Mankind. Is jaw-droppingly great.
I've heard nothing but good things.
It is such a dad show, but also it deals with like whatever. Just recommend blah blah. Yeah. All Mankind, great. Watch it. This is my pitch for Apple, even though I hate the Apple infrastructure and don't want to give them money. There's like 3 really good shows on there. But I actually watched the movie.
Oh, amazing.
And I don't recommend it.
There we go.
But because I haven't talked about it on the show, there's a really great micro-budget movie from like 15, 20 years ago called The Man from Earth, which is essentially should be a stage play. It's a one-room story. It's a bunch of college professors gathered together in a house. One guy claims to be 14,000 years old. And then they interrogate him on like, how can you prove you're 14,000 years old? How do you do this? And it's this fascinating thing. And it's not like they don't flash back to him like being an Ooga or like being a Renaissance guy. Like it's just them talking in a room. And it's so fucking good for like a movie that's made for $12. Mm-hmm. Candyman's in it. Neelix or Dr. Phlox is in it from Star Trek.
Is that Robert Picardo?
No one else. What's that?
Is that Robert Picardo?
No, that's the other one. Dr. Phlox is in one of the shitty it's like, I think Discovery or like one of the ones you probably didn't watch.
Okay, because Robert Picardo is in Voyager, so I don't know if you can make it's the shitty one.
Yeah, he's the holographic guy. Yeah. That's actually better than the one that Phlox is in.
Okay.
Anyway, the point is, that movie is terrific. I couldn't recommend it more if you're in the mood for just a talkie. It's literally... Some guy had the fucking presumption to write a room full of professors talking to each other. You know what you're getting into when you're watching it, and it's done really well. However, I found out that there was a sequel to it. It is the most turdiest dog shit that's ever dog shit a turd. It is, oh my fucking God. So the first movie is an intelligent people sitting around chatting movie, and that's it. It is subtle and it is good. The second movie has nothing like that. They cut to a group of college students that may have found out that he's immortal at one point. And sorry, spoiler alerts for the second one, but he gets fucking kidnapped and tortured to try to get information out of him. At the end, it turns out that there's another immortal that may have been like Jack the Ripper or something.
Hell
like
yeah.
he's an immortal bad guy that's going through. It's
now we're talking.
It in the land of unnecessary sequels, this might be the worst one because it's the original, not the original writer. This was based on one of those classic old school sci-fi writers that wrote the first one. And it reeks of that. It's like very 1960s, 1950s sci-fi.
Piers Anthony?
No, that's like 80s.
Whatever.
Or there's that a joke I don't understand?
Yes. Either way.
Okay. Perfect. But anyway, just watch Man from Earth. Huge recommend. It's free everywhere. It's great. You can yell at me if you don't like it. I defend that movie. I think it's delightful. Oh my God. Do not watch Man from Earth 2 other than if you're one of those people that likes watching that kind of dog shit. Like this is like, I mean, I don't know a worse sequel Caddyshack 2 is Godfather 2 in relation to this. Like it is, yeah. Oh boy, is it shit. So, there's your recommendation. All that crap I just said.
Except for the thing that I don't like.
Yeah. Make sure to listen to John from that thing that you said earlier.
Yep.
Green Shirts. What's his name?
John Bold. John T. Bold.
John Bold.
He's also got
He's on Green Shirts?
He's a producer of Green Shirts. He's on Green Shirts as well, and he does the Open Pike Night with Cameron, also from Green Shirts, where they talk about Strange New Worlds.
Oh, that's okay. That's what was fucking me up. Okay, yes, that is where I know the name from, because I have listened to Open Pike Night. I swear I have, because I like those people. But I was like, wait, I've been on Green Shirts and I don't remember this person.
Yeah, no, he was there. Of the thousands of movies Nicolas Cage is in every year, there's 2 of them lately that are horror movies that are both supposed to be pretty good, and we are going to be doing one of them, Arcadian, with Nicolas Cage, Jaden Martell, and Maxwell Jenkins, directed by Benjamin Brewer, the Benjamin Brewer. We're going to be giving that a little spin, seeing what's going on there. How's the Nick Cage? How's Arcadian? We'll watch it and get back to you.
I mean, this sounds like a deal. I don't like that we can't watch anything with the word daddy in it, like you said, and I quote, Alex, you're just going to say it real gross at me, and I don't want to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
To that, I just have to say, all right, daddy.
I don't, because it's long legs. It's not called daddy long legs, it's just called long legs.
I know, but but it's the sexiest of spiders, so you gotta go with daddy long legs.
That's not the sexiest of spiders. I don't even like spiders, but that's not the sexiest of spiders.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you did fuck that huntsman in high school.
That's true? What? All right, well, that's enough of this.
Okay, we'll see you in a fortnight. Good evening.
Good evening.